announced that last Monday, I think it was March the announced that last Monday, I think it was March the 20th, Laiopua 2020 received $1.5 million in new market tax credits. Secondly, we issued our notice to proceed to construct our first phase of a three-phase project for our community center. We'll start construction April 3rd. It's been a long journey for Laiopua. As you know, we built a medical center at Laiopua, again using new market tax credits, grant funding, and we were privileged to receive funding from OHA as well. I'm here again to report that we'll be initiating our phase 2 plan for our community kitchen with a GIA request at the state. So we have a GIA of 1.5 matching money with the new market tax credits. If we receive that, then this next phase 2 community kitchen will allow us to generate income so that we can become more sustainable. It's like I said, it's been a long road. I've been at this since 2006, and prior to that, 2003, as the president of the Villages of Laiopua, initiated the project. About 2016, 2016, Laiopua came in and requested for some support to OHA regarding operating funding, and I think it was in June of last year we thought we were going to receive some money, and then at the very end, because of OHA's benefit package, all of the additional requests and other organizations were denied. I'm here to seek your support again to provide us some operating funding for 1 year in the amount of $200,000, and then we will provide you a package about how that money would be spent. It's no different than the package we provided you in January of last year. Unlike other organizations, we've struggled to find funding sources. And I think Uncle Bob, Trustee Lindsay, had pointed out we need to find new ways to support ourselves and not having to go to the state OHA or the Department of Hawaiian Homelands to seek additional funding for our operation. So this next phase 2 construction for our community kitchen is real central to our ability and our sustainability for our organization. Kitchen will generate revenues that would include activities such as our community events for our homesteaders. And as you all know, I think many of our people celebrate life, celebrate, the first-year-old baby luau, anniversaries, what have you. And the new community center will be, and the kitchen will allow us to serve up to 500 people in our new community center. Our phase 3 component, which is maybe about a year away, also includes a workforce business incubator and enterprise center. It'll host a series of different activities to include workforce vocational training and business enterprise development. So it's much different than we first envisioned for our community. But we believe that with the growth of Kona, with the way things are going, we can provide our homesteaders, Native Hawaiian people, opportunities that would otherwise not be present. So we believe that if we can become the leader in this direction, that we can offer our keikis and our OPIO new vision for their own quality of life. and seeking job opportunities created right out of our center. I can't say much about some of the testimony that was prior to this, and quite honestly, I think it's important as OHA sees other beneficiary organizations like ourselves. I hope that we be afforded that same type of opportunity afforded to its subsidiary organizations. Um, that's all I have. I wanted to just give you that that update. $1.5 million. We're starting construction, and it's going to open up a whole new opportunity for our community at Incona.
So, Bo, did you apply for our grants?
I did. So we have a matching grant for the 1.5 GIA grant for the community kitchen.
Okay.
Phase 2.
Trustee
Phase
Lindsay?
2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, one quick question. Senator Takuda was on the Big Island, I believe, a week ago this past Saturday.
Just this Saturday, correct.
Did you have an opportunity to meet with her to talk about the GIA?
That's correct. I went to the Senate Ways and Means Committee chairman, attended, went to Waimea, and met with all the GIA recipients. And I made my presentation. Coupled with that, though, we have a 1.5 GIA CIP plus a 199,000 operating fund. Very hard to get through the state, the operating money, which is why I'm here today. In addition to that, Laiopua 2020 need water for our community facilities development and all that. So we actually got the Holualoa Water Resource Development Project. So Laiopua 2020 got a water project and a water well. It's a $12.5 million project, of which the department was going to put in $2 million for the exploratory well. That's the initial well. You go and check out if there is water there. The North Corner Water exploratory well budget that was in the governor's budget and in the department's budget was axed by the House. It was not in the House Bill 100. I attended the Senate Ways and Means Committee hearing today to make a presentation to have the committee, Ways and Means Committee, to reinstate that budget line because we need that water. So it's so crucial for our economic development, for our community facilities development. Everything we do requires water. And I made the point at today's hearing that we're currently under a water restriction. 4 of the major wells in Kona either are down because of maintenance or they're under repair. So everybody in Kona or North Kona now are faced with a 25% reduction restriction use. And these things come back online, no problem. But we have an opportunity here with this Holualoa Water Resource Development Project in which we can add to that capacity fund. This project was supported by the USDA, of which USDA Rural Utilities Service, by Laiupua's eligibility, will pay up to 45% of project costs. So suddenly, the state has an opportunity to only pay 55% of this $12.5 million, which is $6.8 million. I share that with you because it was under L2020's initiative to go out and find that support through USDA, through a survey we did through our homestead community, then qualified for that funding. So we have an eligibility letter that allows us to use that fund for that purpose. So yeah, lots going on. The water project is a big deal. We could use your help with that if I could entertain that question anytime.
Thank you, Bo.
Yeah,
Okay.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say, thank you very much. You guys are really progressive, and it's very helpful to us to see people who are doing a lot on their own to help their projects along. So the amount of money that we have to give them is, minimal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
Hello,
you.
Uncle Bo.
you.
Mahalo.
Okay, I'd like to turn the time over to Lisa to call on Robbie Opa from WCIT.
Thank you, Chair. I'm first going to call Miles Nishijima, Land Director, and Rob Yopa. This is in regards to Kakako Makai, an update and a presentation by our land team.
I'd like to call Scott Hayashi to the table as well. OHA Chair and Trustees, I'd like to introduce Robbie Opa from WCIT Architecture, um, along with Tom Schnell from PBR Hawaii. Both are WCIT Architecture is the lead for the Kui Kui Puone collaborative that's doing the master planning for Kakako Makai, and PBR Hawaii is their planning uh, 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 partner in all of this. So I can turn it over to Rob now.
Thank you, Miles. All yours, Rob.
Aloha, Chair, Trustees.
Aloha.
Thank you. Rob Iopa, WCIT Architecture. I'm here representing the Kuhi Kui Puone Collaborative. It also includes Detail. Malia Ka'aihui is here as a representative, and also the Edith Kanakole Foundation. I'm happy to be back in front of the committee and in front of the trustees to prepare an update for you. I think in front of you you have a packet, and we'll go through the presentation up on screen as well. I only have 5 short slides, so I'll be brief in its presentation, and then we and the team can be here for any questions you might have. On screen, and your first sheet in your packet is the master plan that we had called Scenario A when we last were in front of the board presenting our options for Kaka'ako Makai. For orientation purposes and just to refresh people's memories, I think we all know of the sites and their location. Ala Moana Boulevard is located here on the top, Makai being the ocean. Just to the Diamond Head direction of us is Kiwalo Basin, and then the parcels that include part of Kaka'ako Makai Park and Kiwalo Park. Here, the large green open space as we presented at the time is Kaka'ako Waterfront Park, controlled by HCDA. And then as we move to your parcels I and L, we know of the John Burns School of Medicine and the parcels in and around these areas. Our parcels go from A to L, as you are aware. We have parcels that front the marina's edge at Kiwalo Basin. We have the large lot here that is often referred to as the piano lot. And then we have a lot here on the Mauka side of Kaka'ako Makai, on Ala Moana Boulevard and L, which you're familiar with as well. Our proposal with Scenario A was to develop a highest and best use plan that included the allowable uses as currently in place. If you remember at the time, we also did a Scenario B that looked for some potential changes to the allowable uses. And for the purpose of today's presentation and what we'll be putting forth today, a recommendation to move forward with the allowable uses. The second plan that you'll see in your packet is essentially the same proposal for all of the OHA-based parcels, but we did want to give you an update regarding the parcels that are surrounding your land in Kaka'ako Makai. Since we were last in front of you, HCDA has completed their master plan and their environmental impact statement for the Kakako Waterfront Park, this area and through here. PBR and Tom Schnell actually led the effort for the EIS process for HCDA, so he's very well familiar with the process. The people of the community that were impacted and of interest in this area, and ultimately had this EIS accepted. If there's any questions on the particulars of the park, I can invite Tom up after the presentation to go into it. For the most part, it still remains a relatively passive park. Inclusions of the past that were being described as laser light shows and things of that nature are no longer included. Probably the most significant of the improvements would be the relocation of the amphitheater to a waterfront location, which I think in the community felt was a great improvement to the park. And then here on what was formerly reserved for the presidential library, the Barack Obama Library site, also referred to as the Look Lab site, was proposed for some sporting facilities, primarily related to volleyball. Aside from that, large public open space. As we move over to the Diamond Head side, there has been improvements and awards from HCDA to the Howard Hughes Corporation, the Ward Village Group as the entity to operate the marina, which I think was in place when we last were in front of you. I know there was concerns of finger piers, the potential of finger piers coming off primarily parcel A's and B's, and the impacts that may have to your parcels. What we depict here is the current layout of the marina as proposed and publicly presented to HCDA. So as it currently is shown, there are no finger piers coming off of parcels A and B, nor any of the other kind of Mackay-based Diamond Head edge parcels. There is the introduction of a long kind of pier here, a pier here, and then some mooring stations here along the backside of this component, but none of which we believe on your behalf would impact your ability to use your sites. Sure. Sure.
Have you heard anything about them dredging deep enough to bring in these ships that they had wanted to bring in a lot of tourists? Is that what they're still thinking of doing?
I have not heard, and I'm not contracted or affiliated with anybody doing that work, so I don't have any information. If there were, I do know the fact that if there were going to be significant dredging, that would be a significant environmental impact statement, of which, being a neighboring landowner, you would have ample opportunity to comment on. The one last update, I think, with regard to your neighboring properties is the proposal here along the land-based elements of what's known as Kewalo Basin. As you were aware, and probably when we were last in front of you, there were considerable proposals being made to HCDA for uses on these parcels. They actually let out 3 parcels, one fronting Ala Moana Boulevard, the second here, sometimes referred to as the McWayne Marine Supply site, and then the peninsula here. After several rounds, it was minimized back to a proposal that looked for much less density than the original proposals had looked for. I think most notably, there was a proposal that included a wedding chapel during that period of time. The proposal that eventually was selected was the Ward Village proposal, which included some additional landscaping and bathroom improvements along the McWayne fishing supply site, some parking and park-like improvements along the most Mackay edge of the peninsula, and then a rehab of what's known as the NOAA building. It's essentially old NOAA works shed. that's here into a public facility, potentially to include small commercial uses. So rather low-scale improvements, all of which I think would benefit the waterfront environment in this area and be beneficial to your property, my personal opinion. So with that then, I would again reinforce that our scenario A looked for highest and best use under existing allowances, and your next sheet in your packet starts to look at the parcel. It's an economic summary of the parcel as it exists today, each parcel size, what we believe to be its highest and best use per our market analysis. We had two teams, if you remember, participating in our marketing analysis. So the Hallstrom Group, well-respected analysis group here, locally located on Oahu, and then we also had the AECOM team that brought expertise for attractions and venues that came from the mainland. And then we are representing here the valuation that they did based on 2015 valuation at maximum use. The next sheet in your proposal also does a 19-year projection, taking these development scenarios into account. This has not necessarily been updated, given that this presentation was first given in 2016, but for all intents and purposes, these numbers still are applicable, and they look year by year analysis for revenue projections for each parcel moving out to 2034. I'll leave those with you, and I'll let those, if there's any questions, we can respond to. The purpose, I think, most specifically of updating you and potentially looking at our next steps, if you will, is looking at where we can begin our public entitlement process. By entitlements, these would be the discretionary permits necessary prior to moving towards construction on the site. Most notably, as part of our contract, to develop a programmatic environmental impact statement. So the last sheet on your packet contains a schedule. The schedule is done in conjunction with OHA, PBR, and ourselves. It highlights 5 major activities. So I would say that at first there are 3 major activities. First, beginning with the conceptual master plan, and with the idea that we're moving forward with scenario A as a recommendation. We believe that to be, for all intents and purposes, complete. The next step would to begin our technical studies that would be included in the environmental impact statement. We could begin those quite soon, and then have those take a period of time that would look to take us through the fall of this year. Simultaneously, we would begin the preparation of the environmental impact statement, which is broken into 3 primary components. The first being what is known as a prep notice, so the EISPN, just on line 21, is essentially telling the community what your intent with your environmental impact statement is. It tells you generally the parameters, and it's done to elicit comment from the public on what should be included in your EIS. We believe that we can be in a place to issue that as early as May. We believe that we're in good shape in understanding the parameters of the project to do so, and put that forth for your consideration. Assuming that that moves as projected, the next step would be a draft environmental impact statement. This is a hefty document. It's one that includes all the technical reports It is one that would state all the potential impacts that would come through the project, and this is something that will be well vetted by the community and government agencies as we go through. So this has a little longer time frame. Here highlighted from June of this year through the end, or near the end, November of 2017. We have then received comments during that period of time after that's been issued, and it is the responsibility of the applicant then to address those comments and issue that back into the final EIS. So we show the final EIS schedule from November of 2017 stretching out to mid-2018. In this case represented as June. Subsequent to that, your discretionary permit would be in place, and then you would be in place to start going through your development permits, which could include HCDA permits, SMA permits, which are typically granted by the City and County of Honolulu, and then building permits. So you have that process that would follow through. Those permits are outside the current scope of our contract. We have a scope that would take us through the environmental impact. I think Miles and Scott can refer to a strategy, Lisa, to a strategy of which they would move forward on the development side of things as well. I'll stop now. Lots of information in a short period of time after.
Trustees have any questions of you before we ask comments?
Please.
Yeah. So, Mr. Your contract with us would take us through the right through the EIS process.
Through the
that would
EIS
be
process.
the end of 2018.
Correct.
Okay, that's it.
Trustee Kina?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Rob, for the presentation. Appreciate it. Help me to see if I understand this correctly. The major revenue drivers are going to be lots A and lots F and G.
Yeah, if I could refer back. Generally speaking, yes.
Okay. And then we anticipate in 2034 on these projections to jump from about $23 million total revenues to $423 million. That'll be the big milestone year.
That's the projection, yes.
Can you describe briefly, I know that I'm new to this office and this has been done in the past, but what kind of development are we anticipating on lots A and lots F and G?
So as proposed in this, right, we're calling it waterfront commercial on lots A, and F and G and industrial use. Waterfront commercial would be something that you would see akin to primarily retail, commercial retail oriented elements. So you'd see restaurant and commercial activities that would be seen in many waterfront jurisdictions.
Pardon? Trustee? Okay.
Yeah, there are many examples, that being one. Currently, we don't have hotel or residential in this equation. That those neither are allowed uses. So for the most part, it would be commercial activities and potentially some office-related functions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can it change though
Yes,
from?
of course.
No, the other question I had, because you said there's no update. This is it. The other night I saw on TV. That's how I get the news, whether it's fake or not. The water level is rising because of global warming. You know, they said, the scientists, I think this is UH Manoa, how that whole area 30 feet in is going to be covered with water. All this waterfront, we are included in that. Prime area of the medical school, cancer center, it will affect us in the buildings that we put up there. So we have to be conscious or aware of the update on that kind of physical changes that goes on the land.
Thank you, Trustee. I think we have accommodated for that in thinking for global warming and sea level rise into the planning. I think all of Kaka'ako Makai currently under their, and Kaka'ako Mauka as an example too, is looking forward to that. I think one thing that's pretty evident if you drive by, if you look at Waiea, right on the corner, Kamakee Street and Ala Moana Boulevard, on the theater side, if you look at where that sidewalk is, it's the intent for all of Oahe Street to move up 5 feet in elevation. So there is planning as each element comes into play that you're actually lifting the ground plane in anticipation of sea level rise. So we have some of that thinking incorporated here as well.
I had a meeting where telling developers to have the garages built under,
Right.
parking garages all under instead of above, like Capitol Place.
And similarly, I think our proposal, at least in concept for your master plan, incorporates that thinking as well. If we can use the parking to slip under and then raise the elevation of the habitable floor, you get more kind of open space and ground level for activities.
Trustee Akina.
Yeah, if you look at the city of Seattle, when they first started to build, and they thought that they were going to use the seafront, and then the water rose, right, and all of that disappeared, and then so they have like a city under the city, and it's kind of interesting to visit when you go underground
Sure,
and look
yeah.
at what the city was like, and so this could very well happen to us. Knowing ahead of time, though, that that's a possibility. And I think with Seattle, though, it was because of the water, the tide. They didn't figure the tide coming in and the water rising, and so they had all the bathrooms and when everybody flushed their toilets, everything went. I mean, the whole city started disappearing. I mean, it's a fact. But I mean, we know now that this is going to be happening. And so if we're looking at the future for future generations of Hawaiians and we want this property to be revenue generating, we have to know that will happen.
Faster than later with Trump in there as president.
Lisa?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to address Trustee Akina's question. I think I'm looking at that 2034 column, and I think it's misrepresented, and so we're going to go ahead and adjust that for you. I think it's a total. Specifically, it's not going to generate that large jump in a single year. So let us change that. I apologize for that.
That's nothing at the end.
Trustee Akina?
34.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I had a follow-up question. Again, I realize you're dealing with estimates here, and you said that this wasn't completely up to date. I'm looking at the front end of the revenue generation now. At the far left are net OHA cash flows in the next few years. Because if you've been monitoring our board meetings, we've been looking at our budget, and we're facing constraints from federal, state, and our own revenue sources. You have here in your original plan that by 2017 we'd be netting 2 million plus, 2018 4.7 million, and 2019 8.8 million net. Now, could you tell us how much on the mark that is, given the time it's going to take to get up and running, and how would you adjust that?
I can address that. In fiscal 2017, we actually are looking at gross revenues of 4.3 million. So we're significantly in advance of that. One thing that causes this number in this financials to be slightly depressed is the fact that we had assumed that certain lots would be under development. And although Rob said that we first presented this in 2016, in actuality, the first time that we presented this set of financials was at the end of 2015. So it's quite a while ago, and subsequently, all of this development activity has basically been shifted back. We currently have no lots that are under development. One presumption that we had in these financials is that during development, for at least a 2-year period, the developer would only be paying us 1/2 of the lease value. And then at the end of the development, he'd be paying the full lease value for that lot. And so I believe in 2017, we actually had, in this set of financials, 3 lots that were under development. So that accounts for the major difference. So in actuality, fiscal 17, we're looking at 4.3 million. For fiscal 18, we would be looking significantly more than that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? I'd just like to add that in meeting with administration, the developer, um, and ourselves here, RM committee chair and vice chair, we came to the conclusion that we would like to recommend to the board that we move forward with the development of Lot A. Um, we will be entertaining today an action item to authorize an EIS for the entire lots, all of the lots at that we own, but we will only be entertaining the thought of developing Lot A first. We will be presenting to the board later possibility of an RFP for a developer partner, and there will be a lot of involvement by the board to create parameters as to our vision, our requirements, which needs to be incorporated in such an RFP so that whatever developer chooses to come forward for discussions, they'll know what they're in for. We hope that this RFP, uh, when brought before the board, will go out to the entire world to see what kind of developer would be interested in coming to the best place on earth here in Hawaii. So just to give you a general idea, we're focusing on Lot A. Although the presentation was made on all of the lots to bring us up to date as to where we left off. So from here forward, in future meetings, we will be discussing Lot A unless other things come up as far as the other lots. So based on that, does the trustees have any questions, concerns, opinions, ideas? Okay. So Miles, do you have anything to add? Oh, great. Okay. Then Rob, I'm going to thank you for your presentation. We're going to move on to our action item for the EIS. So if you'll just stand by in case we have any questions. Thank you.
Mahalo. Thank you for your.
So, should I make the motion?
Yeah.
And then we can discuss it. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move to authorize OHA administration to proceed with programmatic environmental impact statement process for OHA's Kaka'ako Makai parcels.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we authorize the OHA administration to proceed with the programmatic environmental impact statement process for OHA's Kaka'ako Makai parcels. Are there any questions or discussion? Trustee Aquino?
Madam Chair, just a quick question. What do you think the time frame will be for the completion of the EIS?
Approximately a year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's on our sheet.
It's on here.
Actually, it could be as long as 18 months. A lot depends on the amount of comments that come in from the general public after we announce the public notice for the preliminary EIS.
Notice it's November, the final, so November 10, 18. 5 new trustees will be up for election in 2018, that month, November. Just for your
Doesn't matter. We
information.
have to holomua.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Lindsay.
Madam Chair, I'm glad to know that we are at this juncture in the road, which has been a long time coming.
Thank you.
So I would suggest calling for the question.
Calling for the question.
Hi.
Yes?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Thank you, trustees. Uh, Motion passed. So we're going to move on to C, RM, uh,
Um,
the motion.
yep, Madam Chair, thank you. I'd like to move to approve up to $120,000 per year for 2 years for the FY 2018 and 2019 for the contracting of a real estate financial advisor for the Committee on Resource Management.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? Call for the vote.
Nalua. Yes.
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Nalua.
Kanalua.
Got the vote.
Thank you. Thank you, trustees. Okay, our last item on our agenda is the approval of a fiscal sustainability plan working and implementation advisory committee. This committee is necessary because we do not have a fiscal sustainability plan in hand. In order for a plan to be developed, quite a few decisions need to be made by the board. So this committee will, half of it is from our administration, half is from our board of trustees, and those are the names on the board. Uh, they will work together to get the decisions from the board, and our administration will uh, work towards implementation in order for this plan to come together. So the committee will get together and probably, I understand there may be 17 decisions that needs to be made before the plan can be a plan. So we're going to take priority wise. The committee will work on it, and we'll bring it to the board as it's finished, until it's finished. And then we'll be able to implement it. So I hope I'm clear on my explanation. Trustee Lindsay.
I'm assuming, Madam Chair, that many of the recommendations which were fleshed out recently when Spire did an update to us
Are all in the last.
of this committee.
Yeah, that's exactly where the documents given to us by Spire will go directly to the committee, and they will be working with it. Trustee Aquina?
Madam Chair, I want to commend you on establishing this committee because it allows us to move forward working in partnership with the administration. I just have a quick question. You referred to 17 areas that need to be addressed based upon Spire's work and recommendations so far. Do you plan to prioritize a few at the front end that need immediate attention to be worked on before the overall master plan is finished?
Yes, I believe we've had small chat on that, and we do know that it needs to be prioritized, and we will be doing that.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Call for the vote on vote of support for the advisory committee.
Any motion? Oh. Madam Chair, I'd like to move to approve the Fiscal Sustainability Plan Working and Implementation Advisory Committee.
I will second. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Thank you, trustees. Okay, do we have any more beneficiary comments? Okay.
You're very good.
The next RM meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 5th. And I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Mahalo. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
All right, oh, good. Even
See?
our,
Good
our
meeting,
to
Madam
spare.
Chair.
Thank you. So yeah, get you out by 3.
Hey, how much time do you